Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hannibal time. Hello, guys. My name is Connor. And let's do it. Battle of Cumae. Cumae? Hannibal, part 18. So to tell you a little story about... I've been watching these as they come out on History March. And the first time I started watching them, there were like 13 videos or 11, 12, 13 videos already there that I hadn't seen yet. And so I figured I didn't know that much about Hannibal at the time. I still don't know that much. But I thought, like, okay, this is the last episode. There's no more up. This must be the end. I always did know Hannibal eventually loses. I think it was Cumae. Battle of Cumae. Yeah, it was Cumae. Was the last episode in the thing, and I figured that would be the last episode in the series, and so, alright, Hannibal must lose here. And in the end, and everything pointed to it. I mean, he was in such a bad situation, but he ended up demolishing the Romans at the battle. And obviously, now I know the eventual end of the Second Punic War is in North Africa. So that's my spiel. If you are not ready to learn, there's the door. Home X down the hall. Original link to the video, top of the description. Right below that, link to the Discord. My name is Connor. I will be your guide and teacher. Let's be real. All of you know more than I do, so you will be my guide and teacher. Let's go. By the way, History March, great channel. You will be spoiled.
By spring of 215, Carthaginian forces under Mago Barca intended to reinforce the war in Italy, and Hasdrubal the Bald, intended to bolster the revolt against Rome in Sardinia, were nearly ready.
Sorry, why do so many leaders' titles have the Bald? Why is the Bald such a common title? All the way up to like 1,500 years from now.
But before either army could make way, the Senate learned of the defeat at Hibera. Tensions rose on how to respond to the Scipio brothers. This exposed the divide between the Barcid faction in favor of the war in Italy and the so-called anti-war faction led by Hanno II, which opposed Hannibal's war of conquest. Nevertheless, the Sardinian expedition was to sail as planned once all troops and provisions were gathered. But Mago was ordered not to depart for Italy until an agreement for the situation in Iberia was reached. The cunning Hanno II and his allies succeeded in delaying yet again, leaving Hannibal on his own in Italy for at least another year. This video is sponsored by World of Tanks, the legendary free-to-play online multiplayer tank game. Pick from an ever-expanding roster of over 600 historical vehicles and roll out onto the battlefield to experience epic PvP battles with a combination of measured tactics and thrilling combat in spectacular locations with stunning graphics. What got me excited is that ranked battles returned to the game in 2022 with tons of gameplay and balancing changes, including the bonus battles which players can earn. This is the true way to prove yourself against millions of players worldwide. World of Tanks now features a lot of content, several expansions, and actively gets updated with new balance patches and an endless stream of content. And the game is available on different platforms and features crossplay. Jump into the most unique tank shooting PvP action. Click the link below to sign up and install World of Tanks by using the code TANKMANIA.
Guys, I always feel privileged to be able to watch this great stuff people make. If you're going to do this, please support them. Click the link. Use the code TANKMANIA. It lets them know that History March sent you there, and therefore they will give them more money. See it as a good investment.
to get
Please help him out.
Excelsior Tier 5 heavy tank, 250k credits, 7 days premium access, 3 Tier 6 rental tanks for 10 battles each. These are only available to new players. Take control of the ultimate strategic shooter in World of Tanks.
Brother.
As pleasing as it was for the Roman Senate to learn about the victory at Hibera, their attention was fully directed towards the upcoming campaign on the home front in Italy. The situation in Bruttium continued to worsen. After an 8-month siege, Petelia fell to the Carthaginians. The city suffered brutal punishment for their resistance. Hanno the Elder then swiftly advanced onto Consentia without resting his troops, fully realizing the importance of breaking the Petelia-Consentia axis as the two most important pro-Roman cities in Bruttium. The news of the horrors that took place in Petelia preceded the Carthaginian army. In Consentia, the pro-Roman faction wanted to prepare for a siege. But still without a significant victory in Italy, there was little support for the Roman cause among the populace. Fearing they would suffer the same fate as Petelia, the people of Consentia decided to surrender.
Wow, that's one of the few times I see it so quickly work. You know, being so brutal in one city and then the next city seeing the example.
With the gates to Bruttium now open, a new wave of support came for the Carthaginians. Towns from the hills mobilized their own militia army to exact revenge on Croton, another pro-Roman city the natives deemed treacherous for siding with the enemy.
Capture Sicily, too.
The army of Hanno the Elder soon reached Locri, which surrendered without a fight. Other cities quickly followed suit. With the large port of Locri now in Carthaginian hands, Hanno the Elder sent a message to Carthage that a suitable safe haven for Carthaginian ships had been secured, urging the Senate to send Mago with the requested troops, supplies, and funds as soon as possible.
Why are they not putting a lot of effort into taking all of Sicily? Don't have enough manpower?
But Hanno II and his wealthy allies had other plans. For 3 months now, Mago Barca had been trying to get approval from the Senate to set sail with his army. He and the pro-Barcid faction argued that if Hannibal defeated Rome in Italy, the war would be won. But fearing the growing influence of the Barcid family, Hanno II rallied behind the wealthy aristocracy, who above all else did not want to see Hannibal become the most powerful man in Carthage once the war was over.
Question, guys. How long has Alexander the Great been dead prior to this?
In their minds, as the man who conquered Rome, there would be no one to stop Hannibal from becoming a de facto emperor.
Isn't that better than...
Their stance was that reinforcements should not go to the Barcid brother that was winning, but to the Barcid brother that was losing. Mago Barca would not be sailing for the port of Locri in Italy. He was to take his army of 12,000 experienced African infantry and 6,000 Numidian cavalry to Iberia, stripping Hannibal of these much-needed reinforcements. This was the ripple effect of the defeat at Hibera. The victory of the Scipio brothers over Hasdrubal unintentionally gave political ammunition to Hanno II and his anti-Barcid faction, and they used it to great effect.
So Hannibal is in sight of defeating Rome, and this traitor, all right, I don't use traitor often, but how is this not being a traitor to Carthage, being Rome as your major adversary and purposely not giving Hannibal the resources because he doesn't want Hannibal to become too powerful? Traitor.
For a third year in a row now, they've successfully prevented any significant reinforcements from being sent to Hannibal. Instead of the army, supplies, and funds he was promised,
kill this guy.
Hannibal would be getting only 4,000 Numidian cavalry and 40 elephants from the Senate. Ironically, the other army of 12,000 infantry and 1,500 cavalry, recruited under Hasdrubal the Bald, would make way as planned to reinforce the revolt against Rome in Sardinia. But the Romans had troubles of their own. The situation in Sicily remained bleak. Appius Claudius began operations to recover parts of the island.
I forget what the pink color represents.
Undermanned and undersupplied,
Greece.
he avoided attacking the more consolidated Syracusans and instead began the grueling task of quelling the rebellion of the Greek cities in the north of the island.
That's right.
An uncertain campaign that would drag on for a year.
I know it's hindsight, but why not that idiot traitor over there send all of his forces to right here? Because the Greeks are obviously going to not be fans of the Romans trying to conquer them, and take Sicily. And I feel like that would be so huge. You then have very small, it's probably like 100, 150 miles, something like that, from Carthage over the Mediterranean to Sicily, and then you can get right to where southern Italy. And
despite the situation in Sicily, the primary objective for the year 215 was to contain Hannibal. All Roman resources went towards supplying the three massive armies in Campania. Yet, the Roman generals would not challenge the Carthaginian in open battle. Caution was the order of the day. Moreover, a great cause for concern were rumors that Capua was pressuring Cumae to switch sides. To reassert Roman authority, Gracchus crossed the Volturnus River. Once celebrated as one of the most powerful cities in Italy, Cumae held a hillside position on the edge of the most fertile part of the Campanian plain, and its port still secured influence overseas. And as it turned out, the rumors were true. The Capuans wanted to use a nearby festival to invite Cumae's officials for talks. If the negotiations didn't go as planned, their intention was to storm the city while most of the garrison was away enjoying the festivities. Although unaware of what the Capuans...
Wait, was that a plan?
Rumors were true. The Capuans wanted to use a nearby festival to invite Cumae's officials for talks.
Genius.
If the negotiations didn't go as planned, their intention was to storm the city while most of the garrison was away enjoying the festivities. Although unaware of what the Capuans were planning, Gracchus was suspicious enough to scout the surrounding area and make camp close to Cumae. He ordered the inhabitants to stay behind the walls and stockpile provisions. Concerned about Hannibal's trickery, the Roman consul did not want to risk losing the important city to the enemy. The hidden Capuan camp was soon discovered. Gracchus launched a surprise attack at midnight the same day. With a substantial portion of the Capuan contingent attending the festival in the hope that the Cumaeans would show up, the weakly defended camp was overrun. Over 2,000 Capuans were killed, including their commander. For Gracchus, this concentration of Capuan forces meant only one thing. It wouldn't be long before the Carthaginian army appeared.
I feel like any sort of meeting or festival that isn't directly, provedly some sort of capitulation or peace talk, you have to assume it's a trap.
Indeed, Hannibal, having known about the conspiracy beforehand, was already on his way. Fabius's scouts discovered Hannibal's movement. He could have put pressure on the Carthaginian army on its northern flank, albeit by committing to a dangerous crossing of the Volturnus while the enemy was nearby. Instead, Fabius refused to leave his fortified position north of the river. Gracchus was on his own. Sensing danger, he did not wait for his own scout reports, but swiftly withdrew behind the walls of Cumae. His instincts were right. Soon after, a tower lookout spotted Hannibal's standard on the horizon. With his army of 40,000, Hannibal arrived before the gates of Cumae sometime in June 250.
I love this channel so much. It starts with the zoom out picture, Mediterranean area, giving you the overall what's going on so far. Zooms in a little bit more to go towards the main objective of the video, and then the final zoom about the battle that the video is titled.
15.
Brilliant.
He deployed at some distance and challenged the Romans to fight him.
Fight me.
The 25,000-strong Roman army was outnumbered, but the sloped terrain in front of the city favored the defenders. The Carthaginians would have to slog their way up to attack a Roman army deployed in front of the walls. But the troops under Gracchus's command were a mix of allies and volunteer slaves. The Roman consul constantly drilled his men to form a proper fighting force, but he still deemed them unfit to fight against Hannibal's veteran mercenaries in open battle. The Romans would stay behind the walls of Cumae.
I love the peaceful bird chirp.
Meanwhile, the construction that had been going on in the Carthaginian battle line turned out not to be the setting of camps, but the
Siege
constructing
tower.
of towers. This time, Hannibal would force the issue.
How are you going to get him up the hill?
The Romans scrambled to construct their own tower.
How are you
Once
gonna get
ready,
it?
a Carthaginian formation arrayed behind the tower, and
What's the point of a tower if there's a giant hill before the wall that you want to put a tower on?
advanced towards the wall. Gracchus directed his men to place the Roman tower to counter the focus point of Hannibal's attack. A rain of projectiles was exchanged, and parts of the two towers kept catching fire, which the soldiers frantically extinguished.
How do you get
Finally,
it up the hill?
the Carthaginian tower reached the wall.
How did they? how did they get it up the hill? Obviously, it must have been not that steep.
Despite being outnumbered at the top, Hannibal's experienced troops remained steadfast, pushing their way onto the wall. The fighting was brutal, but the Roman discipline held until both sides were exhausted. As the Carthaginians withdrew the tower, the less experienced Roman soldiers wanted to take the fight to the enemy. This is what Hannibal was hoping for, that a minor Roman victory will motivate them to accept a battle in the open. But Gracchus knew better. However, seeing Hannibal arraying new formations at various points along the wall, and more construction possibly going on behind enemy lines, he assumed that a renewed attack was coming. Having barely held the Carthaginians at bay during the first assault, the Roman consul feared that his troops might not be able to prevent Hannibal from storming the city, and he ordered the men to withdraw behind the walls of the citadel. But Hannibal was just as unwilling to risk his irreplaceable troops in a chaotic battle among the streets and houses of Cumae. He too withdrew and marched back to his camp at Mount Tafata.
Hannibal is
But
good.
while the attack on Cumae went on, Fabius finally broke camp and crossed the river. However, he did not attempt to flank Hannibal and surround his position from the rear. Instead, he made his way towards Suessula, where he joined forces with Marcellus. All three Roman armies were now south of the Volturnus.
Didn't Marcellus die?
All three
I'm thinking of
Roman
someone
armies
else.
were now south of the Volturnus. Hannibal was hemmed in. Ironically, his success in persuading the Italic state to join his cause was now contributing to the success of the Fabian strategy. The Carthaginian general could no longer march his smaller army away to another region and lure the Romans into a battle. Now he had allies to protect, chiefly Capua.
If that idiot over in Carthage would just send him more men.
Despite being outnumbered, he had to fight to
Let me know if I'm wrong, guys.
preserve the coalition he had created. Rome, meanwhile, continued to preserve, chiefly Capua. Despite being outnumbered, he had to fight to preserve the coalition he had created. Rome, meanwhile, continued avoiding a major battle, instead directing their attacks on Hannibal's allies. In July, Marcellus left camp to raid the towns in Samnium. Hannibal now faced a dilemma. With only 40,000 troops, he faced up to 100,000 Romans. He could split his forces to check Marcellus and protect Capua at the same time, but this would leave him at grave risk of being overrun.
Didn't Marcellus
Or he could
die?
concentrate his forces near Capua and leave the Samnite towns to their fate, which would make him appear weak and unable to protect his allies, something that would quickly lead to the breakup of his Italian coalition. Soon enough, the Samnites sent envoys seeking help from Hannibal. After some deliberation, the Carthaginian broke camp, but he surprised everyone by making way for Nola for a second time. The wily general correctly guessed that neither Fabius nor Gracchus would challenge him in the open, and he thus outmaneuvered the Romans yet again. Hannibal's
They must have just been watching him as his whole army goes by.
thinking was sound. Nola held an important position, being on the main road that cut through Campania. Devastating the region around the city would both satisfy his army and force Marcellus away from Samnium. Moreover, the pro-Carthaginian settlement was still strong in the city, and if it went over to the Carthaginian side, Hannibal's lines of communication in Campania would strengthen and push the Romans towards the sea.
Guys, is it just me, or does... It seems like out of Hannibal, out of Alexander the Great, I don't know as much about. I have to watch more. Hannibal, Napoleon, Caesar. It seems like Hannibal is on another level. I thought Caesar was brilliant, Napoleon was brilliant. It seems like Hannibal is the most intelligent of them all.
In addition, Hannibal sent word to Hanno the Elder, recalling him back to Campania, just as he was preparing to attack Rhegium. Realizing the danger, Marcellus immediately turned back. The Second Battle of Nola was about to begin. If you've made it this far in the video, may Jupiter preserve you. And if you'd like to support our work like all these amazing people do, head over to our Patreon page where you can get ad-free early access to our videos for as little as $1. Or you can support us by clicking like
Great video.
and subscribing to our channel and leaving a comment as a sacrifice to the gods of the algorithm. As always, thank you for watching.
Awesome. Still learning. See you guys next time.